Hello, my name is Prodigy, and I'd like to talk to you all about something that is kind of really important to Destiny, and it's sliding. Now, why am I making a video about sliding? Well, thank you for asking. In It's very important to Destiny PvP because it gives you a lot of advantages that you probably wouldn't think about, and you've probably been doing it for maybe 3-4 years now, but I don't think players really consider just how abusable it is, um, the kind of tricks you can do with it. If you ever watch sort of a competitive match or like a sweaty match where players are, pre-made matches against, say, three really good players like Pashi, Bullet, or whatever that was back in the day, but you'll see that players do slide a lot, and it might not be as intuitive as to why they're doing that. Anyways, and by the way, I'm doing this in one take, so if I seem kind of stuttery or unpolished, that's why. Anyways, so the first thing I want to do is talk about just sliding in general. Sliding in Destiny is a burst of momentum. You move here. As you can see, your head changes levels a lot. You kind of dip down, it's a diagonal, whereas sprinting, you're running, your head's at an even level, you just kind of sprint, you're going at the same speed. Sliding, you go in, and you slow down decelerate as you fucking go in there. A player like who's standing over here is gonna see that and probably not be able to get a shot off. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. But basically, your head changes position so they can't headshot you as easily. Now, what's great about Destiny 2, and haven't seen it discussed that much, even though this game has been out for like 2 years now, almost 1.5, whatever. Is that in Destiny 2 they removed the sliding cooldown, and one thing I see when I watch players gameplay, even like really good players, is they don't abuse slide as much as they could. When I'm playing a game, and this is just how I play, is I'm sliding like all the time. Like there's no reason you really can do it. Just every time you're sliding, you can just dip right here to cover, to cover, to cover, to cover. I use blink. I blink and then go to cover. You can kind of just slide everywhere and just move around the map this way. So if you ever want to practice playing defensively with slides, you can just load up a map and just practice going from point to point. It's really useful. That's sort of how you defensively use slides, but sort of the main thing I want to talk about is sliding into gunfights in this video, and this is sort of the more advanced thing that you might see a really good players doing, and you might not even notice it, and it's not really intuitive as to why you do it. But basically, sliding into a gunfight is just like what you would think. You slide, and then mid-slide, you aim, and you shoot. Boom, 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 like that. So, now, you might be asking, why would you slide into a gunfight? It's you're suffering from the burst momentum that they're suffering from, and whatnot. Or they have to aim at you with burst momentum on your side, but you also have to aim while moving like that. So you would think there's not really an advantage to that. Well, the reason you do that is because I'm sniping over here. I'm looking over here, and you are about to enter a gunfight from here. So when you have to enter the gunfight, coming from sort of this closed angle here, and you're the initiator of the gunfight, or the first actor, whereas the opponent is what you would say playing passive. They're kind of just standing over here. You have a significant disadvantage in that the passive player only has one spot to look at, and I'll illustrate that in a second. But basically, when you go into a gunfight and you're going around the corner, the player could be here, or really anywhere. You can kind of see them on your radar and get a guess, and one thing you can do is kind of turn around or move around and pinpoint more where their radar is. If you get really good at that, it's kind of like a game sense thing that you learn over time. But still, you have a lot to overcome with this. Basically, the other player has a significant advantage. As you can see, they're standing here. They only have one place to look at. They know you're going to come through here. So, yeah, it's kind of pretty easy. If you're sprinting, all they have to do is move their sniper and then just shoot wherever they want. wherever you're sprinting at. And I see a lot of times people compliment me on snipes or whatever, but really, when a player is doing this, it's not so hard to hit them. I don't know, I'm on PC, so I might be a little bit biased or whatever here, but hitting a player who's sprinting is not really hard at all, no matter how fast they're moving, or even skating or jumping or whatever, just because, like, you move your scope sideways and you kill them. But now, how you get around this is sliding into a gunfight. You just whoop, 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 like that. So there to the left. So the reason that this is good is because, like I said earlier, sliding is a burst motion and it changes your momentum as you move, or your speed as you move. So essentially what you've done is you've changed the area your opponent has to aim at from just here-ish to here. Because if I slide from here to here, then the enemy has to move their sniper with me, and the whole time I'm moving at a different speed throughout the entire motion. So that makes it a little bit harder for them to hit me. And what's great about this is it really does catch them by surprise, because a lot of players just have it in their brains that you're just walking around the corner and they can just snipe you. It's kind of like the mark of playing against a good player. You can really feel it when they do that. And yeah, that's basically the advantages of that. But there is one more advantage, and people don't really talk about this much. Destiny is an online game. We're not on land. Even if we were on land, this still would be a thing. This is called Pkers Advantage. And normally in games, in online games, the passive player would have like an insurmountable advantage simply due to the fact that they're looking at one place and no amount of sliding or tricks like that will get you around the fact that you have to actually find out where the player is for like a tenth of a second before you can hit them. But Pkers Advantage is basically the fact that there is always going to be a delay between when you make a motion and the other player sees your motion. And basically what you're taking advantage of the fact is that this player over here is still. So this player, when you slide across this corner or you move or sprint, they're not going to see you move around the corner until like 30 milliseconds or however much the latency, interpolation delay. I'm not a network nerd. It's going to take them that long to actually see you move. So they're going to they have a little bit of a disadvantage. And what that'll look like from their point of view is kind of like if you're here and you shoot them from here the second you see them, they're going to feel like they're getting shot from here, but they'll see you like right here. And it's really, really disorienting and confusing and stuff. So basically what sliding does is it makes that exponentially, it gives you the exponential advantage with that. And the reason you have this advantage, if you want to nerd out about it, is because they're standing still, so the second you go around this corner, you're going to see them, because the game is, you already know they're there, or the game already knows you're there. There's no sort of waiting around about it, and that's a disadvantage of being a passive player. Now with the kills, the kill speed being a little bit quicker in this game, this is more of an advantage. Before, not so much. But yeah, just sort of sliding into a gunfight, taking advantage of everything you can. One thing you should do while you're sliding into a gunfight is do sort of like a tight angle with your gun. In a lot of slower, more tactical first-person shooters, if this were like a hip-fire game like CSGO, what you would do is as you moved around the corner, you would move your reticle from right to left and sort of just keep it as close to the cover as you can, so that you can just shoot them like literally the second you see them. So you go like that. And the same thing applies to sliding. You just want to keep that as close to the wall as you can. Obviously not perfect, but basically it should be like whoop, right there, right in here, this area, when you slide in. And then you can kind of just drag it over there, unless you know the player is like over here, in which case, again, just kind of have your reticle ready to go against all the possible places they could be as you're moving. Now, one last thing to talk about is the angle at which you slide. And notice this whole time I've been kind of just doing this kind of slide. Let's say that you make a line from here where about the enemy would be, and back here. Say that's a straight line. Right here you would be making an acute angle with what your sliding direction and them. So acute angle, small angle. That's good for if you're entering a gunfight from like long distance or whatever, especially with snipers. You don't really have much rotating to do, which is good for long-range weapons or mid-range weapons. You don't have to like move from right to left as you're sliding as much. It's really, really good. Great way to get like the first shot in a gunfight. Great way to sort of just do things really, really fast and smooth. But now let's say you're in more closer range, and they're standing here, here, or here. Now, if I'm here and you were to slide at this angle. You go here. Clearly, I'm gonna be in. If they're standing there, I'm gonna be in shotgun range. All I have to do is bleh with a shotgun like that. Now, one way to get around with this is to kind of make, and this is kind of really, really counterintuitive. You wouldn't think to do this, but kind of make an obtuse angle, like slide outward. And this really, really, for some reason, fucks with people a lot, especially with shotgunners. You just whoop like that. And the reason this works is because if a player is even standing here and they go for the slide shotgun, they're going to be a little bit out of OHKO range, especially after the shotgun update. So they're going to be sitting here, they're going to put you at maybe half health, and then you have plenty of time to like last word them, SMG them, or whatever. And you can make some really, really, really fucking deep cuts like this. And you get all the advantages of a slide without putting yourself in shotgun range. People complain about shotguns a lot. I don't complain about shotguns. Obviously, I snipe a lot, as you can see by that kill counter on this gun. And I don't really complain about shotgunners because I use last word, or back when there wasn't last word, and I didn't really play much back then, but I use SMGs. Basically, this is just one of the tricks you can use to counter shotguns, and it's actually really, really effective. Not so effective in tiny, tiny, tiny maps and tunnels like Pacifica, but on maps that are like small but uncluttered, this is just really, really good, where all the angles are clear cut. You can just really counter shotguns with this. Anyways, just kind of practice, maybe load up a map, and just practice kind of just aiming around the sight lines if you really, really want to. I used to do the same thing with Blink, like practice here, doing like backwards blinks onto things, and, you know, that kind of stuff. You can do that with sliding, just getting used to the game's sort of ice physics. And that really is what makes Destiny unique, is the ice physics and the fact that you have to retain lots of precision while also moving fast. And players who do both will have the advantage like 100% of the time. Players who don't will kind of be sitting ducks, and those players will you will probably see them on the front page of Reddit every once in a while complaining about some gun or whatever. But if you are one of those players, this is kind of my gift to you. Not many people actually like talk about this or explain this a lot, but it is something that kind of decent players actually like do. Some of them do without even noticing it. Some scrubs like me have to like think about it, or had to think about it at one point until it became natural. It makes you a lot better than you actually are. Sometimes people think I'm good at this game, they're playing against me, but really I'm decent at this game, but also I take advantage of these kind of small little things, and you can make yourself look a lot better than you actually are by just really thinking and being aware of sliding. So, you've probably been sliding since this game started, but you ain't slided like this yet. Anyways, Wada G checking out.
3 minutes left.